Skyrim, a game released in 2011 and since ported to every console and smart fridge you can put a screen on. Over the years, Skyrim has been a game that just seems to never go away. Its hundreds of hours of content and its myriad of secrets, making it one of the games I still learn about today. However, that vanilla experience, it started to grow just a bit stale. After playing the game for well over a decade, this is expected. But this is a Bethesda game. And what are Bethesda games known for? Mods. We Skyrim fans, as a community, are clinically insane. I mean, look at some of the mods we have out there. One of the earlier ones being reskinning dragons as Macho Man Randy Savage. We make a mod list that are thousands of mods long, the install size of which can dwarf the size of the actual game. And the mod packs? Oh baby, they make this game a whole different beast. I found myself looking for a fresh take on Skyrim, so I started looking on YouTube, and that's when I found Lorerim. I gave it a download and I had a blast getting my ass handed to me in every way imaginable. It wasn't long, however, before I found out that the next iteration of this pack, 3.0, was going to drop on Christmas. I knew I was going to be downloading this new version of a can of whoop-ass, so I decided to give 2.2, the current version, a fitting farewell. But how do I give something that already makes me want to curl up in the corner and cry for my mother a fitting farewell? Well, back to YouTube I went, and I saw creator Juve had made Skyrim just as painful as Lorerim by giving it the Iron Man challenge. So, looking at this and looking at Lorerim, I figured I could make my life even worse. But I want to put a cherry on top of it. Can I do this before Lorerim 3.0 drops on Christmas? So here's how it's going to go. For those of you who are not familiar with the rule set, they are as follows. 1. No starting gear. If I spawn in with anything, I have to get rid of it at least half as fast as your mother gets rid of her clothes in Mardi Gras. 2. No looting equipable items. This applies to armor, weapons, and ammo such as arrows and bolts, and additionally scrolls. Potions and spell tomes are on the table. I am allowed to receive equipment from quest rewards, but only for disenchantment purposes. I can't let the sugar daddies think that they are too important. 3. The only inventory space I am allowed to use is my own. I cannot be storing things in another container like I'm a squirrel getting ready for winter. 4. No merchants. I am not allowed to buy or sell, and I am definitely not allowed to dance in the middle of the shop for tips. 5. I will be doing this as a permadeath challenge. No 3 strikes and I'm out. If I die, it's a skill issue, and I deserve to be punished. And finally, 6. I am not allowed to fast travel unless I buy an Uber. These conclude the rules that I will be playing under for the challenge. But what about my goals? Well, 1. I need to buy a house. And 2. I want to craft a set of elven armor. This sounds pretty simple, right? Well, you're wrong. Lorerim is not your friend. It changes a few things. For 1, the world is descaled. This means that no longer are the enemies I face held back by my level. As a level 1 player, I could end up on the wrong side of a level 70 Karen who has been introduced to the wonders of a big stick. Quite a few of the dungeons have been updated as well, either adding new areas to these dungeons or increasing the number of enemies to a frankly ridiculous number. But enough about the mod pack itself. If you want to know more, I will leave a link in the description for you to check out. And without further ado, let the pain begin. Round 1. Okay, time to get started. I did not bother putting much effort into the character creation because I have no faith in myself. I did not expect to survive very long, so I went with a kitty cat, used the name randomizer, and jumped right in using the random start selection. Spawning in, I was in the local necrophilia cave, so I ended up looting the garlic and potatoes, got excited, and attempted the world's fastest run for garlic roasted potatoes. Unfortunately, I got some cat hair into the dish, so Sithis yeeted me into the void to hide my shape. Round 2. Alright, that didn't end so well. So, character creation, preset, name randomizer, maximum effort. This time, when I spawned in, I was quite literally a cat in water. After flailing around for all of 4.2 seconds trying to find a way to survive, I didn't. Round 3. We get a free return trip to the necrophilia cave, and this time we managed to avoid adding roasted Khajiit to the menu. Once we get outside, we live like any other cat would by avoiding anything that we can't assert dominance over. And anything we find, we automatically assume is ours. Now, I may or may not have been involved in the birth of a small forest fire before making it to Riften. No, officer, you cannot prove that it was me. Oh, wait, hang on, he just wants money. How much do you want? 621 gold. I'll just take my chances. Okay, time for the backup plan. So now, we're going to hoof it over to the next biggest city, also known as Windhelm. On the way, we avoid another pack of wolves who wanted to give me their opinion on my garlic roasted potatoes in person. Shortly after, I lose any rights I had to being a competent cat to this bird. Someone left some processed metals out by this forge, so I ended up helping myself to my first arts and crafts session. This resulted in me now having a pointy stick launcher and some clothes, thank God. I now have the capacity to defend myself from any and all dangers, except probably that one. For those of you heading into Windhelm from Riften, you may take notice of the impeccably and artistically placed decor they have set along the side of the road to welcome new visitors. The first thing I did on getting into town was attempt to earn back my cat card by hunting some skeevers in the Windhelm sewers. It was not long, however, before I got distracted by the impeccable fashion sense of the local priestess. After ambling around town for a little while, I decided it was finally time to learn how to create my own Kool-Aid boo-boo juice. Ah, delicious. Now that I have passed the naked and afraid stage of my journey, it is time to begin asserting dominance on the Skyrim population. Yes, this group of robe-clad nerds should do just fine. It is at about this point that the first true lesson of this challenge run is imparted to us. Don't piss off the nerds. Round 4. Okay, time to try something a little bit different. Maybe a little more traditional to the Skyrim identity that we all know and love. Alcoholic Nord Warrior. I also wanted to try out some of the Beyond Bruma content that was included in the mod pack, so we went in that direction. Starting off, I already had the soul of an alcoholic Nord completely in the bag. I had a hangover so bad that most of my health pool was missing, and apparently the fellow I was drinking with the previous night was not of the friendly persuasion in the morning. I can understand that. Now, of course, I can't really brag too much about this attempt. I did avoid a minotaur hanging out on the hill just behind the shack that I spawned at, but right after that, I lost a fist fight with a rat. Round 5. Okay, let's try this again. Nord Warrior in Cyrodiil. This time, it started off a bit better for me. I found a bit of loot, met Shrek, and managed to redeem myself against a fox. This act of valor, honor, and redemption did not seem to sit well with the local bear population. Now, I thought I might be able to distract my newfound bear follower with some locally sourced troll. All seemed to be going well until the furry menace managed to multiply and take down said troll. Now I have 2 of the angriest unprocessed fur rugs I have ever seen chasing after me like I owe them money. I stumbled, with all the dignity a naked man running for his life can muster, onto some travelers, of whom I requested assistance. One, however, was much more competent than the other. Time to start processing these rugs. Onwards, into the good city of Bruma. Now, I have to admit, I did not spend much time here, but as somebody who spent a good chunk of their adolescence trying to get onto every roof they could possibly get onto in Oblivion, it was very nice to see one of my personal favorite cities brought into the modern era. However, I was on a mission, so I put together some clothes and headed back out into the wilderness. On my adventures, I ran into a group of frat boys who promptly offered me a drink. Now, being an alcoholic Nord, I of course was not about to turn down free alcohol. However, this was the point that my liver decided it was going to make me pay for my transgressions. It is also worth noting that at this point I think I got reverse mugged, and I am going to blame Lord Sanguine for Daedric shenanigans. Shortly after, I managed to wake up with a fresh hangover. I did end up running into some more bandits who saw me with no shoes, no weapon, and of course the fresh hangover, and decided I seemed like the kind of gentleman who would have a lot of money. I of course did not have a lot of money and chose to run instead. I ended up seeking sanctuary with these kind-faced farmers. While I was there, I began to hatch what could only be considered a pro-gamer move. The plan was to lure the bandits back to the farmers and let them fight it out. Whoever won did not matter because I would profit. This, of course, did not end up being the case because by the time I brought the bandits to try and sell their Boy Scout cookies, the farmers had gone to bed. Thus, I became the world's first Nordic doormat. Round 6. Okay, so the valiant Nordic warrior approach was not working, so let's go back to the stealthy approach. This time I went with a wood elf. I spawned again in the necrophiliac's retreat, and had a small crisis of faith regarding whether or not I had dementia. I then had very productive discourse with the local wildlife, arranged sparring matches between the locals, and of course made my way back to an open forge to play with my popsicle sticks and glue. Once I had assembled my industrial-grade slingshot, I ended up gathering enough resources to create something much more important than pants. That's right, I made myself a campsite. I had a level up in the bank and I was ready to claim it. When I woke up, I was dead. Now, I'm still not sure what actually killed me here. I went to the Discord and brought it to the mod list author's attention, and he wasn't sure either. With 3.0 just around the corner, neither of us were too worried about it. Yes, it was a bug, but I died, so off into the void the wood elf went. Round 7. Since the only thing that actually stopped me was a bug, I decided to give the poor Bosmer another shot. This time I spawned in at everyone's favorite skooma den. After scavenging the place for any leftovers I could get my grubby little hands on, I decided to make my way to a city I could actually get into, aka not Riften. I had some local hunters deal with my Yelp reviewers for me, and then broke into the local meth lab so that I could steal their pet bunny. Unfortunately, shortly after, I had to sacrifice myself to the Yelpers so that the poor bunny could make their escape. Round 8. I decided to try Wood Elf one more time. I did my customary harassing of the local goat population, made my industrial-grade slingshot and my school bag, and was inspired to try becoming a mountain goat. I snuck around the residence of Valthium Towers in an absolutely flawless maneuver by any measure. I was then saved from an unwanted bear massage on the road by some good Samaritans. I made it to Whiterun and decided to flee into the sewers to try and find a corner to sleep in, since I still did not have enough money to purchase a room at the inn. I thought I might try borrowing a few bucks from the people over at Haltish Dream Camp. However, it would seem that their accountant was on staff and having a bad day. Round 9. Okay, this time we're going to try Orc. I avoided some undead, watched a bear defy the laws of physics, witnessed an elk reach light speed, and ended up in a hunting dispute with yet another wolf. I am beginning to think that I might have a problem with the canine population. Round 10. This is now my 10th and final attempt. I wanted to try to conclude this challenge run before Lorerim 3.0 came out. Spoiler alert, he released it early and I failed. However, this would be the run that would mean I won or I lost, victory or defeat. So it was time to see what I had learned. 1. Sleeping is a competitive sport. If I die, it's a skill issue. 2. Bruma has rats on steroids. Avoid at all cost. 3. The Riften Guard is a dick. If I see him, kill him. 4. Watch out for impromptu barbecues. 5. Do not piss off the nerds. 6. You can and should chase down and fistfight the deer and goats. 7. I am ass at fighting in this mod pack, so don't do that. Go steal instead. I decided to go with another cat. They get good sneak. And this time, I hit a stroke of luck and ended up starting in Solitude as a homeowner. I, however, because I am prideful and I am a masochist, refused to count this for the house goal since I didn't buy it. Now, the great thing about starting in Solitude is the blacksmith has everything I need just laying around as if he is a helping hand donation center. So, I gathered some materials and made myself a starting kit before I ever got into the wilderness. Being the pest that I am, I raided some crops before I left. Now that I was kitted out, I had no trouble dealing with my rabbit fans. I did end up picking up Miko on my travels, and he ended up being much more heroic than I, going toe-to-toe with a saber-toothed tiger and demanding only belly rubs to get back on his feet. After playing hide-and-seek with another one of my cousins, I realized I had a problem. You see, I needed quite a few levels to reach my goals, and the way leveling works in Lorerim is a bit different from base game Skyrim. You do not level up by just using your skills. Instead, you are awarded experience through a few main ways. 1 is killing, 2 is crafting, and 3 is doing quests. Now, the problems with these is A, we have already established I am not very good at fighting. B, quests do not really give much experience in relation to the danger they pose for this challenge. And C, my resources are limited, so I can't craft enough to make up the difference. Now, with this dilemma, I came up with a solution. Can you figure out what that solution is? For those of you who guessed it, a good job, you deserve a piece of candy. The solution was to hunt giants and mammoths. It may sound crazy, but hear me out. They are high-level encounters, and if I can manage to, say, get a horse, then I can just shoot them from about a half-mile away and not take any damage in return. So, with this plan in mind, I went to good old Reliable, that small skooma shuffling ring we have right behind Whiterun. And the reason I go there is because they have a horse. After negotiations broke down with my dealers, I cleaned house. Then I sent Miko on his way home because I did not want him being sent into orbit. Now I have a horse, and I have a plan. Off I went to find my first victim. Now, it takes a bit of time and a lot of arrows, but the plan works. However, I felt there might be a better way. And after a little experimenting, I found I was right. Next on my list were giants, and for some reason, half of the bloody things were cowards running away despite being twice my size. Now, was shooting them in the back the honorable thing to do? No. Did that stop me? Also no. Especially when I found out these guys were loaded. After this discovery, I decided to preemptively go ahead and take care of every giant bounty that the Jarl would put out. And then it was time to take part in every Skyrim player's favorite hobby: crime. Somewhere in the middle of robbing everybody blind in the middle of Whiterun, I decided I was going to go back to Riften to take care of some unfinished business. And now, being a known fugitive on the run, I decided to head towards Windhelm to line my pockets just a little bit more. Afterwards, I ended up going back to Solitude to take care of what I couldn't do the last time: consolidate the city's wealth. Remember folks, sharing is caring. And finally, I circled back around to Whiterun so that I could audit Dragon's Reach. And while I was here, I found something quite interesting. The Book of the Supreme Nerd. It grants you the ability to read all books in a 10-foot radius, making it absolutely ideal for easy XP grinding. While I was here, I decided to go ahead and check on how close I was to meeting my house goal. This was when I realized I was only around 1,000 gold off of achieving that goal. So, I went and took out a couple more no payment, no interest loans, and went on another toe collecting hunt. My collection is growing. It wasn't long before I managed to become a property owner. Finally, I have somewhere to store all of these toes. Once the challenge is over, of course. Behold, I have done something that can only be done in video games. I have purchased property. I began my search for Moonstone. I was going to go find some in the Midden, but I could not find the entrance. Instead, I found a miniature Jazargo. So, to make sure that this trip wasn't for nothing, I ran around the library with my new Supreme Nerd spell. After securing some fresh travel funds, I ended up making my way to Soljan's Sinkhole. Yeah, just let that name sink in. Now, there are supposed to be 4 Moonstone ore veins, and a few stray pieces of Moonstone in the dungeon. I, however, miscalculated. I still had iron arrows. And apparently, only silver arrows are effective against the Draugr. So, whenever I took a sneak attack against one of the Draugr and saw 4 damage pop up, I nearly fainted at the computer. Thankfully, someone in chat was kind enough to inform me that I was doing it wrong, and gave me the information I needed to plan accordingly. So off I trotted to Markarth like a good little puppy so that I could go and borrow some silver from the vault. A quick trip to the arts and crafts station later, and I was finally doing enough damage to do more than give the Draugr a mild rash. I, however, refuse to explore Soljan's Hole unless I absolutely have to, so I gathered what I could and left for the next area. Next, we were off to Stony Creek Cave, where the winning strategy for the Dragonborn is to start a conga party. While exploring, I found what is arguably the best item in the game.
A new hand touches the beacon. Listen, hear me and obey. A foul darkness has seeped into my temple. A darkness that you will destroy. Return my beacon to Mount Kilgrief, and I will make you the instrument of my cleansing light.
After I gathered the Moonstone out of the cave, I ended up just doing some odds and ends to get my experience up, and ended up going to Dawnstar to grab some Quicksilver and craft what I could of my elven armor. Finally, I had to face the music. I had no choice. I would have to explore Soljan's Hole. However, I decided to use the most cowardly, most asinine tactics I could to ensure that I would survive the experience. Nothing was beyond me. I perched myself up on a beam like a rat. I played Ring Around the Rosie. And I shot everyone I could in the back. Once again, however, the internet came to the rescue as I found myself short just a little bit of moonstone ore. And I discovered that there were a couple of veins just behind Silent Moon Camp. So with all of my ore together, I went back all the way to Whiterun to craft the final piece of my armor and achieve victory in the Iron Man Challenge for Lorerim 2.2. Now this was a very difficult challenge to do, and to be perfectly honest with you, the masochist inside me loved it. So I think I will continue to do things of this nature in the future. If you have any suggestions, or anything you'd like to see me attempt, please feel free to give me a like, a follow, and a suggestion down in the comments.